I feel the spirit moving in me. I feel the spirit moving in me.
All right, it's time for our guest speaker, and we are blessed today to have Tom LeNoble. He's a world-class leader. He's had senior roles at iconic companies like Facebook, which is now Meta, and Walmart. He's an expert in empowerment, serving as the CEO of the Academy for Coaching Excellence and as a leadership coach for global entrepreneurs at the Miller Center for Global Impact at Santa Clara University. More importantly, he's a testament to the power of the human spirit. Tom has a powerful personal story of navigating life-threatening illness and loss. And his personal motto is, "I'm still here." Aren't we all? It comes from a place of deep lived resilience. So Tom LeNoble, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here with you. I'm so excited to be here with you today. When I volunteered to do this, I knew I was giving a talk at the San Francisco Unity where I am the board chair. And so it was kind of a no-brainer. I said, this will be great. I'll just do the talk at Unity on Maui. And then I got here. I lived there and here. So I got here and I was at my house up in Kula and I started thinking, last week, I can't do the same thing. They can go listen to that online. They can go hear the recording. I've got to do something from my friends in Maui a little different than that. So I did. So there was the original one. There was the original talk. Then there was the one I did for Maui. And then I wrote Adam this morning, thank you, Adam, because I woke up at 3 a.m. and said, there's something else coming through me today. So I said, I'm going to make this work, and I'll make this sync somehow with these slides, but I've got something a little different to share today. It's the same story, but a little bit different for you. So thank you for being here. So today we're going to talk about a story of risk, resilience, and renewal. Let me start by telling you, a doctor once told me, actually 3 doctors on 3 different occasions told me, you have 6 months to live. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I knew something they didn't. See, I had already walked through some storms, boardroom storms, identity storms, health storms, and I had learned something that most don't know about me as I was cracked wide open. The storm doesn't mean it's over. Sometimes the storm is just the beginning. So today I'm not here to tell you a sad story. I'm here to tell you a true one, a story of reinvention, of shedding skins, of resilience, not the buzzword, but as a lifeline. Now we're going to try the clicker. So my life in business suits, hospital gowns, and high heels, in control, out of control, and being controlled, is my book that's coming out in the fall, October, but I'm not supposed to tell you that. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today, as well as some other fun stuff. That's the book cover. It got approved 2 weeks ago. Going through with publishers, and you think you have your book cover, and then you don't, and then there's different things. And yes, all 3 of those people are me. So I wanted to share that with you today. I've worn the business suit, I've survived the hospital gown, and I've rocked the heels. Every step was sacred, filled with risk, and I built a resilience that empowers everything I am. So let's define these things. Risk is a faith in motion, the courage to step into the unknown, trusting that something greater is guiding the way. Resilience is that sacred strength to rise again, wiser, deeper, and more rooted in who we truly are. And renewal is grace in motion, a divine reset that invites us to begin again, open and aligned with purpose. So I'm going to tell you a few stories today. I was going to read you the prologue to the book. And should we have time and you want me to, I will, but I will tell you, you can go listen to it on the recording at Unity of San Francisco. You just flip to the Sunday archives and you'll see my face there and you can hear that. And if you're really interested, I'll give you a private reading. What I do want to tell you about is this is me in a business suit. I was kind of a little baby back then and clean up pretty well occasionally. So I want to tell you this story. I remember I started doing the marquee at my local theater that was 30 feet up, as high as the marquee was. And I ended up in boardrooms. I was the bag boy at my local grocery store, and I ended up working for the largest corporation in the world. Yes, and I was a part-time customer service rep that ended up managing thousands of people. Let's start with this suit. I used to walk in boardrooms in a crisp tailored suit. Facebook, Walmart.com, Palm, MCI, executive roles, IPOs, acquisitions. I was in the first 100 employees at Facebook. I think 57 maybe. I interviewed with Mark Zuckerberg when he was 19. Remind me to tell you that story one time as I walked up a stairs in a business suit to a little office over a sandwich shop. And as I got to the top of the stairs, there before me was graffiti art of women's. I came around the corner and there were 15 people sitting there, a few liquor bottles. And as I looked at those 15 people, I realized suddenly, as I was standing in my suit, that I was old enough to be all of their father. I was escorted to a conference room. Mark came in his signature t-shirt, sandals, and shorts at the time. I was still in my suit. I took my jacket off. He kicked off his shoes, sat on the couch, put his feet up, and we started talking. And I ended up going to Facebook. I was intrigued with the product. I was really intrigued that these people were willing to share all this information. And boy, was that a wild ride. Now, everybody wants to know. They hear this story, and the first thing they think is, so how much stock did you get? So I'm going to tell you part of that story now, and you'll hear the end of that story as we go along. I did a calculation this morning. I took the stock price and said if I had never sold one share of the stock I got, how much would I be worth today? Had I never sold one share of stock, I would stand before you today worth $400 million. And then I thought about if I had stayed the whole 4 years to vest it all, and then I just couldn't go there. But instead, I walked away, and there's a kicker to this story. I don't regret it, not for 1 second. And you'll hear why in a few moments. The suit wasn't just about money, just about meetings. It was my armor. It was how I told the world, I've got this, I'm in control. but underneath, my body was breaking down. I was managing multi-million-dollar budgets while I was also managing medications, side effects, and tremendous fear about what the next lab result or diagnosis would bring. Thank you, Adam. And I got good at hiding. I could lead a strategic retreat while quietly retreating inside myself. And that's just what success can look like sometimes, isn't it? You're killing it on the outside, but inside you're just trying to make it to tomorrow. That's not really success, that's survival in a nice tie. And boy, do I have a collection of them. Let's talk about next, and yeah, this is me, the hospital gown. Then came the gown and being controlled. Anyone here ever worn a hospital gown? You know, that little flimsy piece of fabric that never ties well in the back. Thin fabric, usually with your butt out. You go from being somebody to just a medical record number in a quick 10 minutes, again with your behind showing. Back in 1992, I had to leave the most incredible company I worked for in a trajectory you wouldn't believe. There were 6 of us that started the DC Buyers Club. I'd like you to think about the Dallas Buyers Club with Matthew McConaughey, a little less Hollywood, a few less hookers, right? And we were in a flat in Washington, D.C., all 6 of us with a death sentence. And what we started, I named the Hope Foundation, Healing Options and Positive Energies. In the front room, we welcomed other people who had a death sentence. We had vitamins and information, a touch or a hug when no one else would. Once we got to know you, we invited you into the back room where we had all sorts of things that we had imported from around the world. We injected bovine thymus, took pills we really didn't know their origin, and other concoctions, all in an effort to perhaps live one more month, one more week, or one more day. 3 separate times I've heard the words, "You have 6 months to live." Each time something cracked open inside of me, a little deeper. But here's the twist. Each one of those cracks let in a little light. What I once called death sentences, I now call terrible gifts. Let me tell you the definition for me of terrible gifts, because I'm sure you've had them. You know, those things that come in life that really disrupt everything, that are terrible, but you got some gift out of it. That's what a terrible gift is. It can be the gift of illness, sometimes the gift of the loss of a loved one, a relationship, a pet, sometimes our car. Well, I glow in the dark. So if you ever see me at night and you need a little night light, just tap me on the shoulder. Lying in bed, stripped of all the titles, my identity and dignity, I met a different version of myself. Not the Facebook exec, not the startup guy, not even the cancer patient, but the truth. The part of me that didn't really need titles to lead, that didn't really need applause to feel whole, that didn't need certainty to choose courage. I want to pause for a moment and just ask you, is there anywhere in your life you're wearing a suit where you feel like you're in control? Or perhaps a hospital gown and you're being controlled? Or maybe even a little bit more of being out of control. I went from being in control to being controlled, and a number of times out of control. At the third diagnosis, I said, enough hiding, enough compromising, enough apologizing for who I am. You see, I've had 2 life-threatening illnesses. One I was told was terminal. I've had metastatic cancer for the last 13 years, and I'm still here. So, as you can see, there's a little high heel here. I'll tell you about that in just a moment. We'll come back to that. Carl Jung says, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you really are. I don't know if you've had that experience where your life unfolds and almost seems like mine did, 3 separate lives, that one day you realize it wasn't a journey to some destination. It all sort of makes sense. And without each part, no matter how outrageous, it's who you are today. So let's talk about risk again. The bold act of stepping beyond the familiar, whether it's leaving a job, walking into the radiation room, or strutting in your heels. Resilience, the inner power to keep going when nothing makes sense, when sometimes uncertain, each day you rise is a victory, a blessing. And renewal, the quiet promise that something sacred is always being made from this mess. And when I stood back up, I did something I never did in a boardroom. You ask, why may I not care about not having $400 million? I did okay. I've created nonprofit programs for domestic violence survivors, for at-risk youth, for first-gen students, for women rediscovering themselves, and all the challenges women have today. I've coached global entrepreneurs, people building homes for people that lost them, using goats as a means to rise from poverty in a rural community, and education programs that serve communities around the world. I became the CEO of the Academy of Coaching Excellence, developing the next generation of resilient leaders. I launched my own podcast called Opening Pathways, a podcast where leaders tell the truth about resilience, reinvention, and impact. You can find it on any major platform. I have my own YouTube channel if you'd like to watch it. And I wrote my own book, My Life in Business Suits, Hospital Gowns, and High Heels. Not to say, look what I've done. Look what's possible when you stop pretending and start becoming. So you see, I want to tell you a little bit about that high heel. Back at a dare and a talent show at the ripe old age of 19, ended up me doing 2 shows a night, 4 nights a week in heels for $75 for the whole week, plus tips. It led to a bit of life, or maybe a lot, that was out of control. It's part of who I am. The feathers, the boa, and the heels. You know, we have these parts of our life that we like to brush under the rug. But when you're brought to your knees with illness and challenges, as maybe some of you have been, or other challenges of life, pieces of your life seem to start telling a story. They seem to make sense and start linking together. This is my logo for my business, a dandelion. I want to tell you about this image. People try to pull it, poison it, mow it down, but it keeps showing right back up. It grows in sidewalks, between cracks, in places no one planted it. And when the wind hits it, it spreads. Now that's resilience. You may not have chosen your storm, but you can choose what grows because of it. You can choose to be a dandelion, uninvited, unexpected, and unshakably alive. So maybe right now, you're wearing a business suit or a hospital gown, or your version of high heels, whatever reminds you that you're still here. Maybe you're in your first storm or your third. But hear this. You don't need permission to begin again. You don't need a title to lead. You don't need certainty to move forward. You need one thing: the willingness to rise imperfectly, honestly, and on purpose. Because reinvention isn't about fixing what's wrong or broken. It's about honoring what's real and becoming who you were meant to be. And remember, every storm runs out of rain. And when it does, the soil is richer than ever. My question for you is, what will you plant? Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's take this to meditation, please. If you could please close your eyes if it feels comfortable. Let my voice soothe your mind's chatter. Take a deep breath in and let it go. Let's do it again. Take a deep breath in and let it go. You've just heard a message about risk, resilience, and renewal. Now let's drop from the mind into the heart. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel the seat beneath you. Let gravity hold you, because it always does. And in this moment, you don't have to figure anything out. You don't have to solve or fix or explain. You just get to be. Imagine that within you there's a seed. It's been there all along. Quiet, powerful, and present. It's the part of you that knows how to grow. That seed has survived winters of your life. It's held its shape through the storms of your life. And now it's ready to risk opening, ready to rise through the soil of your experience with resilience and ready for renewal. Let's rest here in silence for a moment. Now place your hand on your heart and silently speak these words. I am safe to grow. I am strong enough to bend. I am open to being renewed. One more slow breath in, and one more breath out. When you're ready, wiggle your toes and your fingers and gently bring your attention back here, because you are right where you need to be, and life is already working through you, and so it is. I wanted to share with you that I spoke to Blaine day before yesterday. And I have a prayer for us to do together. He sends his love. He knows you're supporting him. I assured him that everything was going perfectly and beautifully here. It's a difficult time. They're in one of those storms. The clouds don't look like they're going to part for them right now. But we all know that behind the clouds, behind the storm, the sun still shines. So if you would please, if you'd like, close your eyes. We turn inward now, gathering in the stillness that connects us all. With open hearts and steady breath, we lift Blaine and Emily into the light of your love. They have poured so much into this community: grace, wisdom, compassion, and now we pour love into them. We see the journey they're walking, a path no one chooses, yet one that calls for deeper courage and unfathomable strength. And so we affirm, you are not walking alone. You are held, you are lifted, and you are surrounded by a field of prayer woven by all of us that care so deeply. For Emily, we speak life, not the life defined by diagnosis or limitation, but deeper, life that shines through her smile, her spirit, and her presence. We honor her strength, her softness, her sacred yes to each day. For Blaine, we affirm divine strength in the face of uncertainty, that he may feel his own humanity without judgment, and that his deep connection to spirit without condition strengthens him. We send him peace when the nights are long, and courage when the mornings feel heavy. Together, may they feel the power of this community standing beside them. One heartbeat, one prayer, one breath at a time. We trust in the wisdom unfolding. We trust in love's perfect timing. We trust in grace to meet every need. And so it is.
So together we say, the light of God surrounds us, and the love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is.
Where I live, there are rain.